often people say that this is a man whose actions changed the world, but I think in the case of Neil Armstrong, it really was the case. It was the fact that in some ways this was the end of a space race with the Russians, with the Soviet Union. It was a Cold War race where the Americans tried to get ahead of the Soviets to demonstrate their power. But that moment that Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon, it became a moment which, in the height of the Cold War, oddly enough, united humanity. It was beyond the rivalry between the Americans and the Russians. There was about human possibilities that if a human being from the planet Earth could get on the moon, then maybe all things might seem possible.
Palab, of course, he started his career before he was an astronaut, like I suppose so many astronauts, was a pilot, first of all, serving in Korea, where he was highly commended.
He was. It was from the test pilots that the initial astronaut corps was chosen. First of all, the Gemini program and then the Apollo program. I mean, this was dangerous stuff. Space travel has become routine almost with the shuttle, which has now been retired. We take it for granted, but back then, putting human beings onto these powerful rockets was a dangerous business, and it required a special kind of person. You talked earlier about Neil Armstrong and his ice-cool attitude. That was the hallmark of most test pilots, and in fact, I was one of the few journalists lucky enough to have met him and interviewed him a long time ago. And I had, as you can imagine, I had 1,000 questions of what it must have been like and how he felt about it. And what struck me was just how matter-of-fact he was. He just seemed like an ordinary person, and I think that was his great quality, that as he was steering the Eagle down towards the moon, the fuel was running out. Mission Control were worried because the spacecraft was passing over terrain that it hadn't expected. If it landed in the wrong place, the return capsule couldn't return. But Armstrong, at that moment, was ice cool. The fuel was running out. He knew he was running out of options, but he waited and waited until he picked exactly the right spot to set the Eagle down. And of course, the rest is history.